Ainz Ooal gown in Equestria written by Zakin, getting a gift. Welcome back. Insama greeted Albedo cordially, as she prostrated herself. She had been waiting for him in his study/office. The overlord had been working on the business of his company Yggdrasil, which was constantly growing, spreading throughout Equestria. It was a total surprise when during one of the meetings to get more contacts for his company, he received a call from the Guardian's supervisor. Flashback start the conversation in Ainz's head. It's something wrong, Albedo? I'm in the middle of a meeting. Is it something important? I'm sorry to have interrupted you in this way, but you asked me to inform you of any unusual movements on the part of Princess Twilight Sparkle. I contacted you regarding that matter. I have a report that I think may be of interest to you. I see. At the moment I am almost finishing the meeting. Within 20 minutes I will go to Nazarick to review this report. Understood. I'll be waiting for you in your office. End conversation in Ainz's head. I apologize, but, is my presentation boring you, Mr. Momon? Oh, no, that isn't the case. I was thinking how wonderful our profits will be when we start trading. After all, your product is of quite high quality. I have never tasted such tasty peaches before, Mr. Mustang. Ha ha ha, you don't need to be so stiff with a simple farmer, cobbler is enough. But if those are your words, does that mean that you like my proposal? Not only your proposal, but I'm also interested in your technological developments. That is something that I have not seen anywhere else. That would be great. The truth is that it all started from my father. I just started to follow in his footsteps, but my discoveries have not received as much support as I would like. That will change. After all, I'm a mod-hem*, a stallion of business and word. End of flashback. Ainz took a seat behind his desk. After indicating to Albedo that he could get up using a wave of his hand, he got into the ruler mentality and asked about the special report. Tell me, roughly, what this report is about. Yes, apparently Princess Twilight has run into some kind of weakness in the sealing of an enemy from Equestria's past and fought against said enemy. I see. He started flipping through the report, reading between the lines. Starswirl the Bearded, first bearers of the elements of harmony, who, I see, this is definitely something interesting, the Overlord said as he placed the report on the desk. The supervisor of the Guardians was delighted to witness the amazing processing capabilities of her beloved. She had a dreamy look and could not help but praise the owner of her heart. You are amazing, Insama. That is a report of at least 35 pages, and you have read and understood it in just a few seconds, just as would be expected from the supreme ruler of Nazarick and the man I love, she said with great enthusiasm, while her face was flushed and her wings trembled slightly. Well, that's because it was so well written. I am not worthy of your praise, Insama. Well, returning to the topic, we must investigate that place where the creature was sealed. It will be a good experiment to see if we are able to counteract and slash or undo the effects of the magic of harmony. It will also serve to know a creature of evil alignment of this world. Understood. I will immediately prepare the necessary forces. Also, tell Pandora to take my place in the company until I return. I wish to fully concentrate on this experiment. It will be done as ordered. With these words, the Guardian's supervisor bowed and left the study to carry out her orders. This is quite interesting. So, if there are creatures of evil alignment in this world, I wonder what kind will it be? A specter, a demon, maybe it is a kind of counterpart to harmony. Well, we will see. In the place, Ponhenge hahaha, but what things? Is it just another similarity of parallels? After all, there was Stonehenge on Earth, at least until that company bought the land and demolished everything to build its building. Well, there's no point in thinking about that right now. A few hours later they were in the place that was known as the Hollow Zone, a place northeast of Las Pegasus, at the foot of the mountains. Ainz, Sheltir, Demiurge, and several of their subordinates were gathered. The Guardians were inspecting the area for intruders at the same time that they were erecting a double magic barrier. This would take care not only to chase off or prevent any intrusion attempt but would also prevent them from being detected or said creature from escaping. The barrier occupied a space of 100 meters around the ruins. As soon as they finished they were reunited with their master. The barrier is ready and in place, Insama, Demiurge said while one of his hands was behind his back and the other on his chest, forming an angle of almost 90 degrees between his legs and torso. Excellent. Now, let's see. I can detect that there is a focal point of magic near. All place detect enchant. The Overlord used the spell that allowed him to obtain the greatest amount of information from a magical object. What? A forced door into limbo? I see, so it's really a seal. Interesting. It also gives me some information on the sealed creature. Let's see, Shadow Pony, Karma -200. So it is not so negative, but finally we are going to get to work. It is exciting to know if we will get any new creature. Well, let's start by testing a low-capacity barrier/seal breaker. Demiurge, if you may, start from the lowest possible levels. Yes, as ordered, you thief skeleton, use barrier erosion. A mercenary skeleton, dressed in dark-colored rags with a hood that hid most of his skull, who had been summoned with Yggdrasil gold, approached the center of the room to use his third-level spell. The results were disappointing, and at the same time not so much. If the seal was opened with the magic of such a low level, it would have meant that the enclosed creature would have ridiculously low strength, and therefore useless. After several unsuccessful attempts to confirm the uselessness of the spell, it was then that the skeleton used Seal Destruction, a fourth-level spell, with which it was possible to see a reaction from the seal. In the eyes of Ainz, who could see whether an object contained magic or not thanks to his previous spell, he could see the almost violent reaction of the seal, which meant that that was the limit of the abuse it could withstand. Anything higher would shatter it. That's enough. The seal won't hold anything beyond that level, Sheltier. Yes, Red Heart, Insama. Use Magic Destruction to remove the seal, and tell the Pale Riders to be ready. I don't want this creature to escape by turning ethereal if it can do it. Yes, it will be done as ordered, Red Heart. You have already heard Insama. If this creature escapes, I will make sure to get an undead to beg to die. Understood, Red Heart, Sheltier said with a sweetness that did not fit at all with her words, but the Pale Riders simply nodded. Well, if you get it, then let's get started. Magic Destruction. As soon as the magic took effect, it was heard as if a large crystal was breaking, and multicolored pieces were seen falling, shattering on the ground. Immediately afterward, a black vortex surrounded by a bright multicolored halo appeared, and from it a fast approaching echoing laughter. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Now you see it, Star Swirl, your pathetic spell could not contain me. From the portal emerged an amorphous shadow that began to take the form of a smoking equine. He was barely taller than Ainz when he was fully formed and standing. His face was adorned by an evil smile, and when he turned his gaze to whoever was in front of him, the shadow pony was speechless. Now I just have to get Stygian back as my guest, and then, you. In front of him were a variety of creatures that he did not know, and even a skeleton in a robe. If his memory did not fail him, it was an undead, something that he had not heard in a long, long time. And not talking about the creatures around him that were also rare, they were standing on their lower extremities, and they had almost no hair covering them. Apparently, now that he was paying some attention, away from these were large equines, being ridden by similar creatures, and very close to him were 3 more skeletons, but their clothing was almost rubbish compared to the robed one. Bah, I'm wasting my time. The shadow pony went up in smoke and tried to get away, but to his surprise, his intangible form was quickly brought to the ground and immobilized in just a few seconds by the mounted creatures. Their weapons were capable of doing physical damage to him, something he had never seen or felt before. What's happening? Why, I can't get away. How can they stop me? Foo. So you are simply a stupid beast that is unable to reason, Insama. I think this creature is of no use beyond the physical. If you would allow me to take it to my ranch, I am sure some parts of it can be useful in potions or scrolls. How loud? Stop resisting, stay quiet. Hearing these words, the pony of the shadows could no longer move or speak at will. It took quite a considerable effort to even turn his body a little. As soon as he was immobilized, the smaller being approached him, and it spoke in a sweet but threatening voice. Before you is a supreme being. If you do not behave and show due respect, I will burn you with sacred fire until there is nothing left of you. Do you understand? Demiurge, could you allow him to answer? Unfortunately, I can't read minds. Sure, it won't be a problem. Answer truthfully. Also, answer all questions. Again, to the surprise of the shadow, something was happening that he was not able to prevent. His thoughts came out of his mouth and not what he wanted to say. I understand the threat, but I don't understand what you mean by supreme being. That, I can answer it for you. It was an absolute surprise, and he couldn't hide his look of shock. He had never known before that the undead could speak. The noises they normally made were harsh, but his voice was powerful, clear, and with authority. My name is Ooal, and I'm who they refer by as supreme being. Said the skeleton as he removed a ring from one of his claws. The next thing the shadow pony felt was fear. The being before him gave off an aura of death and despair as he had never felt before. Now, you will answer all my questions. A couple of hours later, they were all back to their normal work, while Ainz was in his study, reflecting on everything that had happened during the time they had been here since he and Nazarick arrived in this world. Man, but what a disappointment. In the end, it was nothing more than a kind of parasitic demon. I hope Demiurge can take advantage of it, otherwise the whole thing would be a total waste of time. Since we came to this place, you can hardly say that interesting things have happened, except for my plans for world domination. Basically nothing exciting happens. During the first month of the business, the extension of the loading and unloading tracks was built, the station and the workshop/warehouse were finished practically at the same time, and thanks to the quality of the furniture we offer, created with scrolls of the lowest level of creating object. In addition to the credit system that we created, the company has expanded rapidly. We already have at least one branch in Vancouver, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Manhattan, and soon it will be necessary to install another in Mustangia. Of all the problems, the more entertaining so far have been those of the company. That guy, what was his name? I think it was Rich something. His intrusions have been quite constant, but the one who has suffered the most with them has been the princess. The project in Griffonia is the slowest of all. It takes a lot of work to restore an almost dead civilization, but there is good progress. The idea of generating income and jobs at the same time was the most successful. In that way, the project is paying itself. After 2 months of having set the date for the Friendship Festival, Princess Twilight was back in Canterlot, and had met with her mentor in her private office, but her objective was not only to verify the progress of the preparations for the festival. They had received the notifications from the artists and chefs who would be joining their equestrian counterparts during the event, and also to talk about the new store in Ponyville. And with that, we finish with the issues related to the festival. Everything is ready to start mobilizing all the materials and participants in 2.5 weeks. You've really put in a lot of effort with the preparations. I'm sure everything will be perfect, Celestia said proudly to her former student, but her words took on a tone of concern immediately afterward. As for the other, have you heard anything about it? Asked the monarch of the sun. No, nothing so far, sigh. I hope he's just on vacation in another dimension or something as ridiculous as that, said the Princess of Friendship with a feeling of resignation that was reflected in her tone of voice. Changing the subject, there is a new merchant in Ponyville. He arrived a couple of days before we came to Canterlot 2 months ago. His furniture is wonderful, he has intricate and beautiful designs, he is also a pony of his word. Every month he expands the products and services offered. At first I was quite suspicious of him, for the same reason I did a complete audit after the first month, but I could not find any problem or contradiction. Twilight started walking in circles as she continued. In parallel, I had been investigating the background he gave previously, but everything seemed to be in order. The goods he brought with him from Minas followed the appropriate procedures, entered through the Horseshoe Bay, and arrived by train to Ponyville. Apparently his story in Minas 2 it is maintained. According to Iron Will, the nickname of his benefactor, Old Red Horns, belonged to a powerful merchant among the Minadors, but he passed away a couple of years ago of natural causes, without leaving any direct family. Excuse me for interrupting, Twilight, but there is something that catches my attention and I feel like I should ask. Can you tell me why you have been blushing and restless for a while? That is because it was so embarrassing when we met him, said the Princess of Friendship with some embarrassment on her face. Embarrassing? Why, what happened? Fluttershy and I had a wing boner, Twilight said softly and with a completely red face. Sorry, I couldn't hear you and Fluttershy what? Celestia asked, having barely managed to hear the first part. We had a wind boner, we couldn't help it, okay, said the youngest of the princesses, almost screaming. Who is Celestia? Covered her nascent smile with one of her hooves. He is very handsome, he has a strong body for a unicorn, his voice is deep. To tell the truth, it was something that none of us were expecting, we just weren't ready for something like that. Poor Fluttershy couldn't lower her wings for almost half an hour after we left his store. For heaven's sake, I didn't get mine down until I was distracted by the image of his cousin and business partner when she introduced her to us. She finished her triad by throwing her hooves into the air and then covering her face that threatened to catch fire with embarrassment when she laid it on the desk. If he could do that to my former student, who would practically not notice a stud even if she ran into it, then it must be a sight to behold. Celestia answered in a tone that implied that she would not forget to put the hoof on the wound from time to time, a tone that was accompanied by an almost imperceptible vulgar smile. Putting my shame aside, said Twilight, determined to move the subject in another direction, they are creating many jobs that are well paid and with benefits far above the others. He has even managed to get products and contracts in Griffonia. They already export products of sweet apple acres and rarity for you. He once told me that his talent was design, but certainly his business savvy is no joke. So he's someone skilled. You know, I'd like to meet them. Would you mind giving them a summons for me? The curiosity of the Monarch of the Sun has been piqued, and she wanted to meet this merchant face to face. No problem, I will gladly hand it over for you. I know. Celestia covered her mouth with a hoof to hide her smile, while Twilight, get to understand the hiding meaning of her mentor's words, looked away and turned red as a tomato. When the moment of total blush passed for the young princess, her former teacher wrote the summons and handed it to her. They exchanged goodbyes and Twilight spent the night in Canterlot having dinner with her parents, returning to Ponyville in the early morning of the second day. On the last Wednesday of the month, in the afternoon, the Princess of Friendship entered the Yggdrasil store to deliver the summons of her mentor. Hi Nabel, good morning. Good morning, Princess. To what do we owe your visit? Do you want to buy something? or is it regarding the transportation contracted for within 2.5 weeks? MNHMN, I came to give you a summons from Princess Celestia. She wishes to meet you both. The summons is for a week from now, but if you have any impediments, the princess is willing to reschedule if necessary. At this moment, Momon SS is away. The Alicorn looked downcast when she heard her, but corrected her posture immediately. I'll let him know when he get back. If you need to reschedule the visit, do not hesitate to tell me. I will take care of communicating it to Princess Celestia. Well, that's all for me, then see you later. Have a nice day. As she left, the Alicorn was lost in thought. Wow, I still can't get used to it, she's so beautiful, but she's almost as monotonous when talking as Pinky's sister. As soon as Twilight was gone, the battlemaid was quick to be alone. This is something urgent, I must notify Ainz-sama and Albedo-sama immediately. Cloudy sky, cover me in the cash register for a moment, I need to go to the washroom. MHM? Oh right, no problem Nabel, I'll take care of it. As soon as she was alone, she took the necessary precautions and activated a scroll with the spelled message Ainz-sama. It's something wrong Nabel? The friendship worm brought a summons issued by the rulers of Equestria. They are requesting to see us in a week. It's as an order, or is it not so severe in tone? No Ainz-sama, apparently it is more like a request. It can be rescheduled if you wish it. At this moment I am supposed to be visiting one of the stores, so we will confirm our attendance tomorrow afternoon. For now, make the necessary preparations to transport a couple of pieces of furniture from my personal workshop in the warehouse. We will give them a present just like we did with Princess Twilight. As ordered by Ainz-sama, I will prepare everything for transportation within a week. In the room of the Supreme Ruler of Nazarick, see it to be done. End of message. Sabas, summon the Guardians. They must report to the throne room immediately. The butler bowed and retired to carry out the orders received. Haha, it's very boring to be reading all these reports, even when I only read between the lines, remembering only names or things of interest. I just dedicate myself to signing them. After all, Albedo and Demiurge are much smarter than me, so there shouldn't be a problem. This is a great opportunity. I will be able to see in person the rulers that can move the sun and the moon. I am almost sure that there should be no problem, even though we have not had the opportunity to see the elements of harmony up close in action. Their carriers are quite weak. According to what we have found out so far, none of them is a threat to us. The only real problem is the special abilities of some of they. The most dangerous would be the farmer who is a walking lie detector and the one who can talk to animals. At first I thought that the pink one would be the biggest problem, but blocking her was much easier than I thought. We need to establish ourselves legally as soon as possible. Upon reaching this conclusion, the Overlord got up from his seat and teleported to the throne room to wait for the Guardians. After a moment, the sound of the gigantic door opening announced the arrival of everyone. Upon reaching the staircase, in front of the throne, Sabas bowed, while the rest knelt. I have gathered them as ordered by Ainz-sama. MHM, good job, all of you can get up. Upon receiving permission, everyone rose to their feet, while the butler moved to the left side of the room to take his position as a servant. Thank you all for answering my call so quickly. I have gathered you together because I have received the report from Nibral Gamma that I had been waiting for. Albedo, who was one step ahead of the rest, took the floor. It refers to the summons sent by the rulers of Equestria, isn't it, Ainz-sama? MHM, I see that Nibral already gave you his report as well as me. Yes, I received it while I was on my way to answer your call. Indeed, we are being summoned as our disguises. The document was delivered to Nibral by Princess Twilight personally. Demiurge decided to speak when he saw that his master was looking at him. You are magnificent Ainz-sama, and to think that with something so simple you could control so many without even suspecting it, just wonderful. As the archdemon's praise ended, the overseer continued speaking. That result was to be expected. Demiurge, not for nothing was he, the coordinator and leader of all the supreme beings. For Ainz-sama, controlling the actions of a lot of stupid mares is as easy as it is for us to breathe. Everything he needed was a low-quality piece of furniture to control the actions of that minor noble, and he controlled the rest simply by carefully selecting the order in which he extended his influence to the surrounding cities, taking into account the discrete timing of even the trips he shared with the other mares. Where do she get all that? I gave the furniture to the princess to do goodwill, and the trips that I shared with the elements were completely a coincidence. If I run into them so often it is because the town is small. MHM, I'm glad to see that you managed to see my plans. We are not worthy of your generous words. We have not managed to do more than scratch the surface. We are still unable to envision the next steps of your plan, said Demiurge humbly. With the current information given to us, a little idea of which are your plans for the festival has been revealed. After all, the scouts who were assigned to watch over the Storm King reported that he has begun to send his outpost to the south of the continent to secure a base of operations. If I remember correctly, in the reports it said that the Storm King's troops move on some kind of mixture between a hot air balloon and a ship. If that is the case, he must assure of his air superiority. In other words, he does not believe that his troops will suffer significant casualties, which means, the Overlord was thinking aloud, but it was more for himself than for his subordinates, but the latter understood the pause at the end as if he were asking them a question. No, for them, it was as if their lord was indicating to them that with this information they should already be able to see his plans, so to say that they were nervous would be an understatement. They were terrified, and were not because of giving the wrong answer, that could well be within the expectations of their master. What they really feared was disappointing the last of the supreme beings who had stayed with them. They feared that he would be so disappointed that he would decide to abandon them. Albedo and Demiurge's minds were working overdrive, needlessly, trying to understand the Overlord's plans. The Storm King is a buffoon who feels powerful. He thinks he is a genius in strategy and manipulation, but he is only capable of herding sheep. He advances confidently of his victory, feeling invincible, without even looking back, behind. Rear guard. Upon reaching this conclusion in his mind, the light of understanding was reflected on Demiurge's face, something that did not go unnoticed by Albedo. You are amazing, wonderful, the epitome of intelligence. The archdemon shouted excitedly, which brought Ainz out of his meditative state. AAA, I see that you have understood my plans. Share with others what you have understood, but do it in a way that everyone can easily understand, so that I can understand it too. Yes. The Storm King is a buffoon who believes himself to be a great strategist. I'm sure that as soon as he finishes securing his base of operations in the south of the continent, he will bet everything on a direct attack on the capital. They will take advantage of their air superiority to reduce their casualties to a minimum and slash or negate their threat gets the time to react. The idea itself is not bad, but the plan is. Given this, the rest of the Guardians showed a confused face except for the supervisor. She only showed her usual smile. Upon realizing this, the Guardian of the 7th floor decided to elaborate his answer further. The plan is bad because it is not considering all the capabilities of the enemy, or that some external agent may interfere. Thanks to this and all the preparations that Insama has made beforehand, we can finally take the first step to fulfill the main objective of our master, take over the world. What are you talking about? At what point did my desire for peaceful coexistence turn into a plan for world domination? No, wait a minute, let's finish hearing what Demiurge says first. We will seize this opportunity to systematically eliminate the tyrannical rule of the Storm King, and we will establish a new order. Then, thus, we will establish a kingdom legally in the eyes of the rest of the powers on the globe. To his surprise, Sabus could not prevent some words from escaping him. But wouldn't that mark us as the greatest threat? The supervisor looked at the butler and calmed his doubts. That would be the case if we attacked someone else. Or do you think that our master would present himself to any fly that requested his presence for no reason? I'm right, Insama. Well, those ideas can work too, in the end. It doesn't matter if they know me for fame or infamy, as long as the guild name spreads. As expected of the brightest minds in Nazarick, they have fully understood my plans. No, not at all, Insama, Albedo, and I are sure that this is only the tip of the iceberg of what your plans are, said the Guardian contemptuously about himself. But the response of the Overlord moved them. You are giving yourself very little credit, and I am not going to make less of any contributions. We humbly and wholeheartedly accept your words, said the supervisor, bowing with grace and elegance. Now Demiurge, of all my preparations, which do not exist, which was in your opinion the most critical of all? At this question, the archdemon took a pensive pose with his right hand holding his chin, and after a moment he stated his conclusion. I think the most critical of all the preparations was the creation of Momon the merchant. After all, if he did not exist, we would not have easy access to the cities and the raw materials that they could produce for Nazarick. Although taking them by force would be seriously very easy, that would make it non-renewable. Also, when the kingdom of Insama is established, its presence in our lands will show us as a peaceful country with which it can be traded. This will allow us to establish relations with neighboring nations that have not been under the Storm King regime. In short, I think not only is important, but also the key that will unlock the rest of the world for us. Indeed, Demiurge's assumption is correct. Ultimately, that was the most important action of all. I just wanted to get away from the paperwork for a bit. Insama. It's something wrong, Cocytus? Yes. I apologize for my impertinence, my lord, but wouldn't it have been easier to have simply taken Equestria? I agree with Cocytus. Insama. Aside from some interesting beasts and the occasional vegetation, I haven't seen anything worth preserving. Ooal, such a reaction was to be expected from a ranger, but why mention the plants? I see, she must also be speaking for Mare. That's certainly an interesting point, and it would also be the fastest and most convenient option given our location. At these words, both were happy, thinking that they had been useful to their master, but with the following, they felt ashamed of having spoken. However, it would be at the same time the worst possible move. That move would make us seem not only as invaders but also as the main enemy. Cocytus, what do you think would happen if this case occurred? Yes, being the primary enemy, that would mean being the target of everyone that could spark chain reaction of conflicts on a large scale, but that wouldn't matter in the least, would it? After all, no one in this world is capable of matching or approaching Insama's power. Mare spoke with a confidence and coldness that he showed very occasionally, which surprised the overlord. It is true, we have not found anyone capable of getting in our way so far. Besides, it would be very easy to reduce everything around us to ashes. But tell me, Mare, is it your wish that I rule over a simple pile of ash and rubbish? While everyone went cold as they understood the meaning of the last question from their master, Demiurge, and Albedo, only smiling bitterly while nodding, being the one who had suggested such blasphemy, Cocytus hurriedly put his 4 fists on the ground and bowed head almost to the ground as he apologized. I beg your pardon for my indiscretion, Insama. It was not my intention at any time to disrespect you. When Cocytus finished speaking, the twins understood, and making a perfect 90-degree bow, both of them apologized in unison. We are sorry. Shaltir remained silent but lowered her head in embarrassment as she was thinking the same as them at first. Raise your heads, Cocytus, you can be calm, you are not at fault, none of you are. Know that it is pleasant for me to see you expose your doubts or annoyances regarding the direction of the plans, because this avoids impediments in the future. The overlord rose from his majestic throne and spoke in a clear voice. Albedo, coordinate with actor from Pandora, prepare the present that we will bring to the princesses. It will be 2 dressers, one in white and gold, adorned with amethysts, and the other in indigo and onyx, adorned with white gold and pearls. Understood, Insama. Demiurge, as soon as they're ready, take them to Titus and get them prepared, just like we did with the one for the Princess of Friendship. It will be done, Insama. Shaltir, as soon as the librarian has finished preparing them, you will transport them to my personal workshop at the factory. Remember to take the necessary precautions. Yes, Red Heart, as you order, Insama de Arasu. Finally, we have already verified that their detection capabilities are very bad thanks to Pandora's actor raids and portal tests, so a large contingent will not be necessary. However, it is foolish not to prepare. Albedo, order me. Prepare a group of 15 units with infiltration skills to serve as my escort. I have to prepare them with the premise that they will be hidden all the time and will function as an interception network at the same time. Am I correct? Indeed. In addition, Nibril and Pandora's actor will accompany me. He will be supplanting the delivery employee who has given the best results in the company so far. Make sure he is replaced the night before his departure. When we return, his memory will be manipulated so that he thinks he has made the trip himself. I'll take care to start the preparations immediately. Tomorrow we will take the first step to have the princesses in our hands. Everyone can retire to carry out your orders. All the guardians prostrate themselves before the great image of their master and answered affirmatively at the same time. Yes, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and leave a comment and share it with a friend. See you all later.